I tell you, this song it is fire. I don't know. I don't care who you are. When this song comes on, you're like, what? Yeah. This is fire right here. You gotta admit that. I love this. Ooh. Hey, if you know the lyrics, go ahead. Put it right in there. Put it in the comments. Go ahead. We starting right now. All right, we're back. I'm back. It's been a while since I've seen you guys. It's been about a month, so I'm back, guys. All right, enough with that. Thank you very much for joining us for Cocktails with Chello, episode 40. So you know the routine. We got 1, that's 10. There you go, 20, 30. We did 40 episodes thus far. That's pretty awesome right there. So thank you very much for joining me here today. Now, you know the deal. All opinions are solely my own and do not reflect the opinions of my employer. Reason why I bring that up is because I work for the second largest recycling and waste company in the nation. And you know what? If we haven't met, shame on me. How you doing? My name is Chello. I provide recycling and waste services for companies right here in Metro Atlanta. Now, I specialize to work with manufacturing, industrial, and also logistical companies here in Metro Atlanta, along with commercial and industrial properties. I help with them with that. If you know someone, oh gosh, maybe it's you that are having downtime addis. Yeah, you heard me, downtime addis. So sometimes I can't even pronounce, but basically you get the itis of downtime. If you're having issues with your current vendor, please reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to help you, see if we could be a good fit. My number is 678-683-9136. So thank you very much for joining me. Now, let me know if you're watching me team live. If you're watching me team live, please be sure to let me know that as well. If you're watching me team replay, you're also welcome there as well. So let me know there as well. Now, what part of the world are you watching me from? Are you right here in my backyard, Atlanta, Georgia? Or are you watching me from my old town, New York City? Or where everyone loves to watch me from, Bangladesh? So let me know what part of where you watching me from. Now, this is not going to be a one-way conversation, hopefully. So I hope that you could join in the conversation, share your thoughts based on what we're talking about in today's show, and we'll be able to go back and forth, and hopefully I'll be able to answer some of your questions in the live. Mind you, if you're watching me in the replay, that's fine. I love that. So be sure to, if you have your questions, to put at Chello or whomever else is you're having a conversation with in the replay. Even in the replay, people can still reply. So be sure you do that. Now, don't be shy. Don't be stingy. Be sure to share this with your network. So if you like this kind of topic, you like this dialogue, let folks know what we're doing here so we can actually have more of a engagement, increase that engagement so we can have some great conversations. Now, if you hear something that you like, you don't like, either way, let me know in the reactions. Give me a heart, give me a like. So right now, as you're watching us live, let me know right now if you guys are watching me live. If you like how the audio is coming through, give me a thumbs up. You love it, let me do it as well. Either way, give me some reaction there as well. And also, lastly, gotta let you know, be sure to follow Cocktails with Chello so you can stay in the loop whenever I go live. So thank you very much for doing that. Now, the topic of today's show, you can see scrolling on the bottom there, it says, there it is, 5 unique high achiever traits. This is an interesting, and I may launch the room. so we can have that going. So let me see if I can actually. I don't see. Oh, I got to do it from this end. Duh, Marcello. Let me bring it up there. Okay, so I'm starting the room right now. There we go. Boom. Okay, so we got that going on. So I'm gonna mute the mic on this end and come back here. Go back and bring it up. So then you'll be able. I'm gonna join the room. So then, if anyone joins us, we can have the dialogue. So now, if you guys are joining us in the room right now, we're actually having this dialogue as well in LinkedIn Live, YouTube, and also Facebook. So I see also I have my let me actually let me make my dude here. Let me bring my guy up, bring him up to ask him to speak, which is basically me, and ask Miss Sabra as well to speak as well. So I'll make myself a moderator. There we go. There we go. Boop, 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 boop. All right, here we go. Boop. All right, so now, hey, Sabra, what's going on? How are you doing today? Or the evening?
I'm good. And you?
Not bad at all. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for joining me now. Now, what I'll do is that I also will make you a moderator, so you're more than welcome to invite folks into the conversation. So what we're going to be doing today is that we're going to be having a discussion on 5 traits that I believe high achievers display. Ironically, I had a conversation about this very same topic. It didn't come up. The question was, hey, Marcello, what's going on? How you doing? Hey, let's talk trash. And by the way, do you know what's the 5 traits of high achievers? It didn't go down that way. However, I'm listening to a podcast from a gentleman named Bill Caskey. If you guys are not in tune with him, I definitely recommend you guys to do that. Bill Caskey shared traits of 5 traits of high achievers, and they're like, well, that resonates with me. Is almost identical with the conversation I was having the other day with a client. You know what? This Namia utilizes to stimulate the conversation and also share my spin on that topic. So I'll be playing some of his philosophies on that, and then we're going to be engaging on that topic as well. Now, before we go into the comments I see here on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn Live, I'm going to ask my friend here from Let's Talk Trash, our weekly discussion on sustainability. I'm going to get her opinion, what she thinks on what are the traits that high achievers typically display and do it time and time again. So I'm curious to know, what are your thoughts on that? And go right and you can unmute yourself, Sabra.
Well, I have lots of things to say about that, but give me 1 second and I'll answer your question.
No worries. And while you get yourself gathered, I'm going to actually reach out to the folks that I have in the comments. So I see right now, oh, my dude, Rob is in the house. So you like the music. I'm glad that you like my selection of music. You know what I mean? So you never know. You never know when you need to, go down. And I know you love the music because you do your music videos every Friday. Yeah. So thank you very much, Rob. I appreciate that. I got LinkedIn using in the house. What's up, bro? That's my dude. Chad is in the house. What's going on, buddy? Hello, all the way from Pakistan. See, that's close. I got a lot of friends that watch me from Bangladesh. Pakistan is pretty close. I like that. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming through, man. I appreciate the love. I got Mr. Can, your energy. He loves my energy. I love it. Thank you very much. That means a lot to me. Thank you so much for sharing that. And if you guys love this energy, please share with other folks in your network. Just click share and let folks know to join our conversation. There's a link in the description. If you have Clubhouse, you could join us there. That's where you could join in the conversation. People can hear you in the conversation as well. So be sure to click on that link. I got my dude live, the head hunter. Got you hired just like that. Obviously, you got to bring the goods and you got to have a pretty good resume, and he'll prepare you for the job of your dreams, or better yet, the career. But you better be ready to execute when you get in front of the hiring manager. So thank you very much for coming through. He's all the way from Jamaica. I appreciate that. Team Live, Rob is in the house. Thank you very much for MD, Maryland. This is my dude. Just jumping to say, hey, what's up, smooth dude on the platform. Thank you, man. I appreciate the support. This guy, if you're not connected with Jamal, this guy has some great stuff. He has a podcast that he recently launched. He has some fantastic guests that he has on board. So Besley, yeah. Be sure to connect with him on LinkedIn and also follow him and subscribe to his podcast. So thank you very much for coming through. I appreciate that. All right, there we go. And what else we got here? I got my dude in the house right here. David Dinkins is in the house. Oh, this guy, he gets his own theme music. There you go. What's up, David? Yeah, I got my dude here as well. God is always good. You like that? Yeah, and my dude, this guy is suave and debonair. I love him. I just peeped out your video before I went live, so I appreciate that. I love this right here. I say hello, stopping by to say, show some love and enjoy this conversation. Thank you very much for your support, my friend. Hey, man, it's a two-way street. We're all creators here, and at the end of the day, this is why I put a disclaimer in the beginning, because this is a passion project for me. I like to, share what I found provides me success. It might work for you, it may not, but I'm providing a platform for us to have a dialogue, and hopefully we could actually grow together. So we got also my dude, Chris Wolf. There you go. I love it. What's going on, cowboy? I appreciate that. And I got we got Carolyn is in the house. Hold on, Carolyn. You got to get the music. Come on now. Oh, this is fire. Carolyn's in the house. Thank you very much coming through. Yeah, that's what's up. And I keep it going for everyone that as I'm going through the comments. I got Daniel Hall all the way from Maryland. Yeah, buddy. Allison, team live from Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah, and I got Jen. She's saying hello. What's going on? Love. This woman got some great content. Thank you. I appreciate that. Carolyn's in the house. Yes, and she is the best. No, I'm not the best. She is the best. That is awesome. Look at that. See, you gotta love this love. Okay, so let's go back to my lady right here, Saber. She's been hanging tight right now. She's gonna give her insights on, not insights, just our beginning ideas of what she believes someone that's successful, constantly high achievers display. So, Miss Sabra, mind you, you're gonna share what you've seen and what you know and what you do, so people are listening.
So the one thing for me, because I'm like all over the place and I have ADHD, so it's like squirrel, something shiny, whatever. So the one thing that I have to really deep down and dig is clarity. So I have to get clear and focus on what I am trying to put out in the world, what I'm trying to accomplish, the tasks that I need to do. So that's my first one, is just to get clarity. Another one that I have is, how do you be more productive? Time management is another one that I struggle with some mornings, others I'm better. So those are kind of my two things that high effective achievers really work on, is get clarity on where you want to be, what you want to do, focus and make a plan, and then work on your time management. I mean, if you can, things come up all the time where I'm like, oh, I've got a great schedule planned out, and then something happens and I have to rethink my whole day. Just knowing what my major tasks are, what I should be doing, what I need to be doing, and kind of prioritize that way has helped me as a person that is I'm just going to say it, I'm a hot mess some days. That has really made me very successful in my industry and my career.
And I want to go back to what you said about the morning. What are the things that you've done in the past that you found that it helps you stay on track?
So I do two things. One, I meditate, or I do a little bit of yoga, just to get my mind clear, because my brain goes a million miles an hour sometimes. So I really have to just pause and kind of focus of, okay, and then after that I go to my desk and then I just kind of write down things. So I do write a lot of stuff down, which it makes no sense, and I have horrible I should have been a doctor
No, no, no,
because
no,
I
no.
have
I do the same
horrible.
thing. I do the same thing. Mind you, that's the only way that I could put things. That's how I feel. I get some comfort that I'm actually going down the right path. So I'm with you as well because I could go back, even though it might be chicken scratch. At least it's there. No, that's great.
I call it my brain dump.
No, I love that because then what happens is once you dump, like you said, after you complete that brain dump, then there's some sort of comfort. Almost like you like that's almost like a level of exhaling. Okay, I put it down now. Let me, in my case, goof off. Let me make a coffee. Where's that squirrel I saw a moment ago? Because I could always go.
Yes.
Yes, because I could always go back and say, okay, now I'm ready to work. I still didn't find the squirrel, but let's get to work.
Yeah, I am a big fan of checklists. I have them all over the house of, and they're just tasks. And sometimes, I don't make a chore list or what I really need to do, but I definitely, make several different columns because then that way I don't feel bad if I didn't accomplish something that was on my list, or I don't get stressed out about all of that. My to-do list is so long, so I definitely put them in different little categories of, kind of priority, kind of not, what I should do, what I shouldn't do. I mean, my office right now is a total disaster, but it's okay. I'm not stressed out about it because I know that there's things that I did today that are accomplished, marked off the list. So, and a lot of people, get up and drink coffee and have that that good feeling, as Maxwell House calls it. I don't do that. So I get up and I just have to really slow down my brain, figure it out, what I'm going to do, and then I just go about my day. And I think that has made me happier, content, and I don't know if the right word is content, but I don't get stressed out about a lot of things just because I do have to reset. That's my word for today. Reset.
No, reset. That's the key thing is that sometimes we don't do that enough. And think about when we're in rooms in Clubhouse, often they recommend, when you're in a room, to reset the room either as often as someone comes in the room or groups of people come in the room, or maybe every 15 minutes. But think about that. If we did some level of reset, and as I'm talking here, I want the folks on LinkedIn Live, YouTube, and Facebook, let me know, what is your reset throughout the day? 8:00 comes, you do your proverbial punching of the clock. 8:15, you haven't gotten to where you need to be. What do you do to reset? Do you sit down and check your email? Do you actually sit down and think about, okay, what I need to get accomplished today? And then you write down, you do your brain dump like Sabra suggested. Do you call someone, or do you walk around the office and chop it up with someone? Just curious to know, what is your reset? So yeah, now, so what you shared with us earlier, Sabra, that's your version of a reset. Would that be correct?
Oh, absolutely. It really is. Because, when you're going about the day and things just kind of come at you, I definitely just kind of take a breath. And, my mother always said, count to 10 before you react, count to 10 before you react. And I've always done that.
Yeah, I have Jamal, and this is a classic book. Anyone with a growth mindset have heard this book before. So he's suggesting to read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Mind you, that's the kind of book that after you read it one time, you read it again and again, and you see where I'm going. You always find something new. What are your thoughts on that, Sabra?
So that's the thing about me, which I struggle with. I have a library full of stuff, and I can read a book and I have to reread it a little. insight about me is I do have some brain issues. And so I've read that book. I couldn't even tell you what it's about. I'll have to reread it again. I just started a book club a few months ago, and we did the Atomic Habits, and that was a great book. And my takeaway from that book is I have to get James Clear's newsletters weekly so I can remind myself of what I've read. So I really struggle with, I can read something and then I have to reread it again. And if I'm not writing it or writing something down, I will not remember it at all. In fact, I recommend it because I think it's hilarious and I'm all about free stuff. So Kanye came out with his little book of The World According to Kanye. And I recommended someone to read that. And they're like, oh, tell me about that. What did you really think about that? And I go, hold on, because I have to go back and get my little tidbits. And so I do. In my office, I have Post-it notes of different little key things. Because if I don't see it daily, I won't remember it tomorrow. I mean, I barely remember what I did this morning. I know that I went and met somebody, but that was about it. Conversation-wise, I don't get it. So I know that there's some people that, can read something, it's like very powerful. Mm-hmm. So I know that was a long rant for the 7 highly effective people. I know that Brendan Bouchard has the high performance habits. And I like that. The only thing that helped me with his book was buying his workbook. And that helps me get to remember, different key points. So I have to do a lot of audios and I have to listen and listen and listen and listen.
No, and I can relate to that because as I listen to you, I'm actually, agreeing quite a bit because I could be like that as well, all over the place sometimes. The term that we use in our home is called la da di. So, la da di, la di da, la di da, da di da, and then next thing you know, I'm like, oh, what was I doing? So for me, resets are commonplace and allows me to get control of the day. And I can still, I make an effort to do balance. So like when I mean work-life balance, I'm talking about like even work balance. Before we go into listening to the podcast, I'll share a few more items and then we'll go over some of the comments that I see here. Now, work balance. I never heard this before, and I literally just thought about it. But think about this, right? I think about some of my colleagues. I'm with them either for break, we're working together at a particular site, or whatever it might be, right? How often do we hear bing, 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 and they're boom, distracted, looking at whatever their phone is, or email. And as soon as they see that email, oh my gosh, this happened to my client. Oh my gosh, that happened something over there. And then at that point it derails the day. And then they'll spend minutes, maybe too long, maybe hours, vacillating on this matter, which ultimately doesn't actually move the needle, but it gives them some sort of satisfaction, even though they don't want to admit it, but they realize it occupied them and it allowed them to actually chase that squirrel, which I've been there many times. So I purposely do not have my emails notify me throughout the day. I purposely check my email. I'll check it in the morning. I'll scan it briefly. I'll decide what's time sensitive and act accordingly. And then midday, I'll check it again. And then generally again, maybe closer to the end of the day, I'll check it again. If it's time sensitive, most of my clients, my customers, I would say most of them, all of them, have my number. They'll text me, they'll call me if it's that urgent. Otherwise, if they'll email me and they don't require an urgent response, then, they'll get a response in a timely fashion, no question. So what are your thoughts on what I just shared, Sabra?
So I love that about the notifications. I don't get notified of anything other than when my phone rings, as far as like an email or something like that, just because I do get distracted. I mean, I can be completely focused in preparing for a seminar or a lunch and learn that I do. And literally I'll be thinking of one thing and I'm like, oh, I forgot to do 9 other things that I was supposed to do this morning. And then I kind of go back to my list. So I already have that getting pinged in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need another notification. But yeah, it's, you have to, and, talk about like a work life balance. I probably the worst. I literally have a project of something going on all the time, and I am happy about that. So when people say, will you do this for your home life or this for your work life? I just kind of combined it all together. And I think that I don't focus on trying to balance too many things. I just do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's interesting that you say about the notifications and how you can get really distracted with that. And don't. I get distracted from my own mind,
Mm.
not the whole, not outside factors.
Yeah, no, and that's, and mind you, it's admirable that you're allowing yourself to be transparent, and you've always been transparent on every discussion that we've had online, on a live, a clubhouse, and even when we've chatted on the phone. So it's quite admirable to see that. So, and it allows other people like myself to open up to you as well. So kudos to you. So thank you very much for doing that. It takes the guts. Um,
Well, thank you, but I don't think so. I think, you are who you are. I just own it. I am not one to be. There's things that I've done in my life, but you know what? I've done them, and I own it.
mhm.
I take responsibility for that. So
Wow.
I just try to give everybody, I know where my struggles are, and I know that everybody struggles with something. And I think that's why I created a space where, just be you. I don't take things personal. I try to be the best person that I can be. And some people are turned off by that. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say. And yeah, I think maybe because I do have brain damage in all sorts of sense, and I joke about it because it is a serious thing. Um, and as I get older, I notice it more affecting some of the way I process stuff. And so I'm so glad that you're having this conversation about what you can be in the traits of high performing and success, because I do think that some of my, and I don't call them, I don't call them like ability or anything. I think because my brain does go this makes me who I am.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing is that I want to welcome. I have we have someone in the line right now, Emmanuel. Thank you very much for joining us, and you're more than welcome to come on the stage if you like. What we're talking about today is, and what we're gonna actually dive into. I just finished pinging some folks to join us in the room. Is that I'm gonna share a podcast, and we can debate on it about 5 traits of highly effective people. And mind you, these are things that you could implement today to get yourself to your goals, and if that's what you want to do. I mean, otherwise, keep going. So yeah, we're about to dive into that. So we had more of a, almost like, when you have a conference and you have the first half an hour, it's like a meet and greet kind of thing, and you're bouncing around ideas. So that's what we've been doing thus far. So thank you very much for joining us, Emmanuel. I appreciate that. And you can be sure to pull to refresh everyone as well. And if you like, please ping folks into the discussion. Now, let me look at what we got here in the dialogue here in LinkedIn Live, and also right here in YouTube and Facebook. So we see here now, Carol was just talking about that was a great strategy, and mostly I would suggest that she was talking about you because you broke it down. So I appreciate you sharing that right here. Another thing that Allison says, that the keys to having a productive day is that you got to block the times and hours. Now I'm curious to know what's your thoughts on that. I've utilized that, and I have done time tracking and time blocking. Now those are two different things. Time blocking is it's almost like setting up appointments or calendars in your calendar to keep you on task. So if between 9 and 10 you need to follow up with clients, and then from 10 to 11 you need to send emails. You get the idea. Now time tracking is literally you you don't really schedule something. You literally just go about your day, and every task that you do, you jot it down, you track it, which it can be quite daunting. However, when you go back and look at the end of the day and you see what you did and how productive you were, it's quite eye opening. So I'm curious to know, Saber, have you ever done either one?
So I do, because I do have appointments that I set up, and I do have some lunch and learns that I do have to allow that time. And, like our clubhouse that we have on Thursday at 10 o'clock, I do not schedule anything at that time. Even though there are things that come up and arise, I still try to block that out.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on, and this is what I like about all these conversations, is because what's productive to you is not productive to me, and to productive for everything. So that word productive, it could be so many different avenues. Is it productive that you made X amount of sales calls? Is it productive that you completed on your to-do list? Is it that you paid the rent? I mean, there's so many different things that you can actually say that I had a productive day.
Mm-hmm.
There are days, especially during COVID, if I put on jeans from my pajamas, I just had a productive day.
I love that. I love that. And mind you, that sounds like the weekends at the Arcelays, because we pride ourselves to Netflix and chill. If anything, we should have actually registered that, because we've been doing that prior to Netflix even being in existence during the weekend. So I echo that sentiment, Sabra.
So, yeah, so I do think that in order for you to stay on task, or to stay on your productivity, there are things that you need to do to make that happen. Otherwise, you really are in my head as a hamster wheel, because I can go do 9 different things, get them all accomplished. But when someone watches me, and that's kind of why I'm not a great educator, because if someone watches me, they look and go, I don't know how you accomplished any of that, because if I would have done the same thing you did, I would have been, in 5 feet of paperwork and trying to place everything, because my madness is not the same for someone else. So that's one of the things that I love about all these different writers and all these different schedulers. People think that I'm on LinkedIn 24/7, because I use 3 different programs that I schedule all of my posts, all of my stuff. I do interact throughout the day,
Mm-hmm.
but people really assume that I am doing nothing but on LinkedIn, and it's very. We'll just use the word again. It's very productive for me, because that's what works for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that I love about these conversations, is not one thing works for everybody. And so you kind of take little bits and pieces of the 7 steps, or the 7. See, I already forgot the name of that title of the John. I think it's John Maxwell. Maybe it's, I don't know, Brian Tracy.
Yeah, 7 steps of highly effective people. But it's just, I get the gist. Go ahead, finish your thoughts.
Yeah. No. And you can take like all those different books, the High Performance Habits, the Habit book, the Control, the whatever. You can take all those books, and you really have to say, okay, what works for me? Because I know so many people in my industry and in my field that they read all these different books, and they're like, I am not doing that. And they feel like they get hard on themselves. They feel like, I'm not succeeding, I'm not having a productive day because I didn't accomplish all these things on my list. So I think sometimes we create more, I'm trying to think of the right word, but I think you understand what I'm saying. We get hard on ourselves, and we beat ourselves up for not doing certain steps. You kind of have to pick and choose what makes your days productive.
And I'm curious now, right now, as folks are listening to this thank you, Sabra, and the folks that are listening to this online, YouTube, Facebook, and also LinkedIn Live, and also folks right here. Thank you, Emmanuel, for joining us as well in Clubhouse. Curious to know, share with me and us here, what are the things that you do when you realize, okay, you know what, the day is lost, and the day could be lost at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's all relative, maybe, because depending how bad something goes, you're like, you know what, forget it. I'm just gonna browse the web, look at CNN, whatever it is. I'll deal with this tomorrow. So just curious to know, what do you guys do? It could be anything. Let me know. Do you browse the web at that point? Do you browse social media? And then if so, do you feel guilty afterwards? So let me know, if that gives you that level of satisfaction. So it all depends on everyone's career or current occupation. So I'm curious to hear people's feedback on that. Jamal was talking about the things that he does on his reset. He hikes 3 miles, 3 to 5 miles a day, and he said it works wonders. And I would agree. I've seen he records himself often enough during his hikes, and I would agree it works wonders because the posts that he shares with us are one of the most thought provoking insights that he shared with us time and time and time again. I mean, I will say that his walks is almost like an equivalent to someone's shower, and then his walks is like someone else's equivalent to someone's shower, which then is an equivalent to me sitting in the front yard or in the backyard for that matter on a rainy day. I'm not sure if you guys enjoy that. And let me know if you guys like rainy days. Put that in the comments. I love rainy days or you hate rainy days. Let me know because I particularly like to sit back, watch the rain come down. Obviously, at that point, I generally don't have any task to complete. So either I'm sitting back and having a nice beverage, which in this case I had it here earlier. I guess is escaped me. I had to buy, but I'll sit back and just sit there with my thoughts, and I might have a notepad and write down things that I want to accomplish. It could be personal or work related goals, and literally just be lost with my thoughts. So I'm curious to know what you guys your thoughts on that. Carolyn says writing a post, write a post-it note, and with tiny reminders of my daily goals. So that's a reset. So she'll pull out a post-it note and write down daily reminders, little tiny reminders that she needs to tackle throughout the day. And I guess you'll refer back to them, as she goes about her day. David Dinkin, a good friend of mine here in Atlanta, he says he makes several friendly calls before diving into the day. That's a great advice. And actually, you're the first person that said that he does that because I do that as well. I give you my equivalent to that. Let's say, for instance, if I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, let's say, for instance, I got the case on the Mondays on a Friday, so at that point, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't get out of it, and I'm like, literally just walking through quicksand. I'll visit some of my clients just to get some momentum going. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm not going to go out of my way to, just to randomly pop into someone. But if I wanted to work in Marietta, then I have several clients in that area, and I'll stop by and see how the service is going. If they have any questions, it's, you literally just have a casual conversation. No purpose behind it. Just literally stopping in to say hello. And generally my clients could feel it, could notice that because I don't have an agenda. And that usually gets me going. And I guess that's my agenda, but I don't really have any financial agenda for that matter, which it works out. You'd be surprised at how often that works in my benefit. Now, here we go. Allison says that's the key to having a productive day. She says, taking time blocks, and we addressed that earlier. Gabe came through in the house. Gabe Neal, this guy, boy, he literally live his life with his heart on his sleeve. So thank you very much for coming through, Gabe. And mind you, the link to the Clubhouse room is in the description, Gabe. So if you're still here, be sure to connect there that way. And here we go. Carolyn was talking about that this is a great strategy. As I mentioned, I believe that she was talking about you, Sabra, and host with the most. And this is what Gabe is giving me some kudos. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. And he also gave me some, telling me that he's team live and putting in a shout out to Cocktails with Chello. So thank you very much for that. And hey, if you guys are not following, please be sure to follow Cocktails with Chello on LinkedIn. So thank you very much for that. Now Allison says getting notifications is a total distraction and interferes with one's focus. That's how I feel at times. And, mind you, I do, I purposely turn them off throughout the day. However, I'll have them on and I'll have them even on during when I'm at home, and it drives Mrs. Arcelay crazy. Like, because I have multiple gadgets. So think about if I get one notification and I have 5 gadgets nearby, each gadget ringing like in cadence, like ring, bing, 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 boom, boom, bing. It just drives me insane. Then I don't even pay any mind. So then she's like, okay, what's going on, buddy? You got all these notifications and you're acting like you don't hear them. So Carolyn says she loves rainy days. Thank you. Thumbs up for rainy days. So I appreciate that. Now, all right, so we are at 8:43 right now. I'm going to get the podcast going to play that so you can hear what Mr. Bill Caskey has to say. And then in between, he's going to start with 5. And then from there, I'll pause it in between something that I find monumental or thoughtful. And then if not, then I'll pause it right before he goes to the next trait. So here we go, guys.
Hey gang, welcome back to the Bill Caskey Podcast. Glad to have you here. Today we're going to talk about pros and cons. We're going to talk about how to look at the world and how not to look at the world. And this is all part of my High Achiever program that we're in the middle of launching. We've got a couple going on right now. If you are the least bit interested, if you're a high achiever, someone who earns 150,000 or quid, as my European English friends say, not European English friends, 150,000 to 200,000 quid, then make sure you go to billcaskey.com, and I'd like to have you on one. So I got an email the other day from someone who is starting in this High Achiever mentoring program, and they said, can you give me kind of the what to do and what not to do? In other words, how to think and how not to think when it comes to high achievement. And when I talk about high achievement, I talk about scaling up your business. Because for a high achiever who already works a lot of hours, it's unlikely that you have an extra 10 hours a week to go prospect or to go do other things that are going to level up your income. So chances are you're already working hard. You don't need to work any harder. You might have to work differently. And so I've come up with a list of 20 things here. I'm only going to do 5 today because I don't want to overwhelm you, which I have a tendency to do. Don't want to do that here. But these 5, these are kind of amateur pro kinds of things. Or here's what not to do, and here's what traditionally we do, and here's what I think you should do if you really want to scale your business. So let's go through 5 of these, and I think you'll find them interesting and maybe useful. And I do not have a handout for today, but we're actually going to be doing a webinar on all 20 of these things. So here's number 1. The traditional salesperson and achiever is all into hacks and techniques. All into what kind of font do I use for my email? When should I send my blast emails out, which I hate that term. What should I say when the prospect says this? How do I make sure that they don't shop around with somebody else? It's all very hacky and techniquey. And I'm all for techniques. I think there's value in having good language, but I don't consider good language technique.
So I'm curious now, Sabra. I mean, we always hear about that, especially when it comes down to training. If you take, I don't care what company you work for, if you are in administration, if you're in sales, whatever it is, usually a good company has some training. And they got shortcuts and they got, hacks for that matter. Hacks are usually more of the shortcut, but you have to have the knowledge to be able to implement said hack. You've been around the block a few, just like I have as well. Folks watching this live can see the gray hairs in my case. I'm curious, what do you live by? Do you live by a specific strategy that you implement when it pertains to how you're successful in your role, or do you occasionally implement a hack to get certain thing done or get over a hump, or better yet, maybe make your number for the month? What are your thoughts?
So there are lots of different techniques out there that, or, you can call them hacks if you want. But, the one thing that I love about this is everybody is so different and everybody does things differently. And I always try to accommodate, because I am in sales, I always try to accommodate my customer or try to find out what makes them tick. And so a lot of times, when I have my LinkedIn page or my social media looked at and they're like, oh my gosh, you throw up over everything. You're confusing. You're a disaster. You need to sit and do this stuff. And to me, I believe in not everybody is going to agree with what I say. Not everybody's going to want to hear something, but I try to give everybody different options of different things. So as far as like techniques and hacks, I try to do what's accommodating to my customer and kind of what is in my comfort zone. So, one of my big taglines that I live by is throw kindness around like confetti. Well, if anybody follows me and does anything, I literally throw everything around like confetti. I'm a total disaster when it comes to techniques because not everybody hears the same thing. Not everybody gets the right feedback. So I know that was kind of a roundabout way, but yeah, I kind of tailor my traits and my techniques around who my audience is.
No, I like that. I guess when it comes down to it, that's how you could ensure that and you can keep your mic live. That's fine, unless you got some crazy background, but you can keep it live if you like. I when it comes down to it, it really comes down to mirroring your person that you're working with, because sometimes if your client is a shucking and jiver, and you are a straight laced kind of person, and they're looking at you like, what's the deal with this guy? You know what I mean? Or this lady, then they're not going to take you seriously, and chances are you may not get the deal. So yeah, I'm with you on that, Sabra. No, and the same thing, hacks. I'm with you as well. Usually the same things that I've done to get to the point that I'm at in my career is the same things that I implement every single day. So folks that are watching this live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and also LinkedIn Live, YouTube, and Facebook, what we're talking about today is we're talking about 5 unique high achiever traits. And right now we just covered 5. So if you're watching us live, please play the replay so you can actually take a look at that. And we're going to 4, 3, 2, and you know it. Number 1. Now, please let me know if you're watching us live. If you're watching us LinkedIn Live, YouTube, let me know that as well. If you're, let me know what part of the world you're watching me from as well. New York City, Atlanta, Georgia, or Bangladesh. I'm good either one. And be sure to join in the conversation. There's a link to the conversation in Clubhouse in the description in YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, so you can join us there as well. Emmanuel, he's hanging out with us right now, so you definitely want to join with him as well, and Sabra, and then my evil twin is there as well. So, and please join in the conversation. Be sure to share the stream with everyone in your network so we can actually continue flourishing this community. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I live by the same behaviors that I did to be successful now. However, sometimes doing a little bit of tweak, a little hack from time to time, I'll do that. It could be something, and it could be anything. I mean, whatever it is in your industry, you know what that is, and I'll do that. And usually you could get some pretty good success. It could be, like I said earlier, stopping in and meeting with a friendly face. That could be considered a hack. And you're like, hey, how you doing? How's everything going on? What's new? Do you know anyone that needs some help? Do you know anyone that's moving in? What's going on down the block down there? That's really a hack, because you could find out yourself. But that's a hack. That's the way that you can get around it, and I call that social engineering. So that's another way that you could actually meet your number if you needed to. So let's see what we got here. I got my dude, Mr. Martin, Bulletproof Martin, is in the house. Thank you very much for coming through. I appreciate that. Hello, Martin. Hola, ¿cómo está, señorcito? That's my Latin brother from Florida. And I got David Dickens. He says, authenticity is and no BS. Folks want to hear the real talk. So that's what he talked about earlier. Just giving it straight usually works. And that echoes what you talked about, Sabra, that you're mirroring your clients. So real talk is relative to the individual, because sometimes people just want the bottom line. They just want the numbers. They don't really want to know how the sausage is made. So it's all relative. So thank you very much for sharing that, David. I appreciate that. Now let me continue on with the podcast. It's a very short podcast, so we'll be able to cover this, and we're not going to have a 3-hour show. Did you have something else to add to that, Sabra, in the meantime, before I play it?
No, go ahead and play it.
Okay.
Technique as you ask a question in a negative way to create a response that you want. That's technique-y. And so I think the traditional sales trainer or coach really spends a lot of time on that. My perspective is that we should be thinking about strategy. What is the strategy that we're going to use to generate inbound leads? What are we going to offer to our audience so that they will give us their email address, or they will reach out to us and say, hey, I loved your webinar, John. I want you to come in and talk to my team. Strategy is so much more important than hacks and techniques. And yet I don't find a lot of sales organizations really teaching strategy. I find that it's all about hacks and techniques. And what do I need to say to get the customer to buy? And what do I need to say to get past the assistant and the secretary and the screener and all that kind of stuff? And I think the right strategy eats hacks and techniques for lunch. How about that? And maybe even dinner. Number 2, the traditional trainer will teach massive behavior, massive action.
You got 2 profiles.
I've even heard
now?
Tony Robbins talk about this, and Gary Vaynerchuk, and just
give me 1 second.
Massive action.
Yeah, I've always had 2 profiles, and I'm not sure if you're connected with me on LinkedIn. So right now I'm live on LinkedIn, I'm live on Facebook, and I'm live on YouTube. So the second profile, I'm using it to mirror it, and people that are watching the live can actually see the discussion. So like right now, if you're talking, I can actually bring you on the screen, and people that are watching the live can actually see your lovely face, and then you and I are having a conversation. It shows who's the voice of the person on the screen. In addition to that, I'll actually click on your profile and let people see what else you do right there as we're having a conversation. So that's the reason why I have a second account to do that. And I've been getting follows on that one on the low. But yeah, my main account is still the waist guy. So yeah. And let me let you know before I get back to the podcast, and we're talking about 5 traits of highly successful individuals. Before I go to trait number 4, I'm curious to know Lynette, what's your thoughts on the traits of being highly successful? Mind you, and success is relative, meaning that, we talked earlier about reset, meaning that when you start your day and you're finding yourself going down the wrong path, you'll say, okay, I need to reset right now. And folks share different things on what they do to reset. Someone said that they go for a nice walk. Someone said that they'll write their to-dos on a Post-it. Just curious to know what would you do, Lynette? And, when it pertains to reset, and also share some, maybe 1 or 2 traits that you exhibit when it pertains to being successful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For me, resetting. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you perfectly. Go right ahead, Lynette.
Great. For me, resetting is key, because sometimes you feel like you're not focused, and then you need to just stop and say, what is the main thing that I need to do?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really a great tool, because sometimes when you are foggy, that you don't know where you're going, resetting gives you that pump to say, I need to stop and just see what is the clarity that I need to get through and move forward.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, when it pertains to, let's say, successful traits that you consider, and I want to also give a shout out to my dude, Donald C. Kelly. I see that he chimed in. He gave me a thumbs up. If you're not connected with him, be sure to connect with him on LinkedIn and follow his podcast. He's the chief evangelist of the Sales Evangelist. So I'm curious to know either 1 or 2 things that that you do that people say, man, Lynette, that's awesome. How you manage to do that? And to you, it might seem, automatic or robotic. What are the things that you do that it comes easy to you, but other people say, man, this is why you're successful? What comes to mind, Lynette?
For me, networking, the way that I connect with people, and I just listen at them, I meet them, and I try to know more what they do in order to find either opportunities to connect with others that they have the same mindset, or just to know more about them where I can help them.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, as a networker, is key to know people and understand what they're doing in order to help them or connect with others that they can be helpful to each other or companies either.
That's perfect. And mind you, that thing is that a whole approach of networking And folks that are watching this, that in the room, just if you haven't done already, ping a few folks into the room and also pull to refresh so this could come up on individuals' hallway. So thank you very much for that. Now, let me hear. There you go, Lynette. Bam. Tú eres un moderator. Ahora ahí, mátate ahí. Now that's the key thing, is that just be able to stay on task and networking. And now, a lot of people, if you weren't doing it then before COVID, you either developed the skills of networking during COVID, or if you already were doing it, which it seems like you were already doing it, Sabra and myself as well, you just found different ways, or you fine tune what you were doing. So before we go back to the podcast, I'm curious to know, Saber, if you had any insights of what Lynette said, and or any shared insight on what been shared thus far.
No, that's great about the networking is, it's the one thing that I thrive is I like to learn about other people, and I like to know what makes them tick, what makes them successful, and what they're doing. Because again, even though I may not be able to mimic that or even be successful at it like they are, I can at least learn some different traits. So I love the networking and connecting people, because we can all learn from each other, either what not to do or what to do to work in our lifestyle. So I'm excited to hear what's next.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you very much for that. Let me play the next trait, and then I'll get everyone's insight on this.
I think massive action wears you out. I would rather you take an approach of using the right and strategic behavior. And strategic doesn't necessarily.
Now, what he's about to talk, and I'll share what he means by that, and then I'll let him share. He's talking about either massive action or strategic action. Now, what that means is, and Kay, thank you very much for joining us in the room. We're talking about 5 traits that people exhibit that are 5 traits that are highly successful individuals share. So we're actually having a discussion about that right now, and listening to some insights from Bill Caskey, which is he's a personal coach and also a sales coach. So Kay, if you have any insights or you would like to join in a conversation, Kay, you're more than welcome to join us on the stage. Now, what he was talking about earlier just now is either massive action or strategic action. Strategic is you sit back and you think about what you need to do and you tackle it. It may not be an overwhelming task, but it's very strategic and it moves the ball. Massive action is almost like doing the same thing, but doing it multiple times and doing it in abundance. It's almost like the equivalent of throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. So now I'll let that marinate, and I'll let you hear what Bill has to say.
Long range 10-year stuff. It means let's do something. Here's an example. If you do a YouTube video, let's say a LinkedIn video, and let's say it's a 2 or 3 minute video where you talk about here's some of the problems that people have, and here's a couple of thoughts that I had. It's valuable for prospects and for your audience. A strategic way to do that, a massive behavior way to do that, is you say, well, I'm going to do 1 a day for the next 30 days and see what happens. A better way to do it is to say, I'm going to do 1 a week, and then I'm going to take that video, I'm going to break it up into little clips. I might even get it transcribed. I might even write an article about it, put it on LinkedIn, create a graphic around it so that people can see that I have written something of value. I might want to rip the audio out and use it on maybe I might want to rip the audio out and use it as a podcast. If you don't have a podcast, there's other ways to use audio. You can put it on Instagram. You can put it on Twitter. You can convert it into a video and put it on LinkedIn. But again, you've already got the video. So think about quotes that you might have said during that little 5-minute video and pull those out. Go to canva.com, create a little template, and put quotes out there, just quotes that you have said. Now you start to build your expertise, your thought leadership. But that's the difference between massive behavior, do a video every day, and strategic behavior, let's do 1 video and let's find different ways to promote it.
Yeah, so now think about that, and you've seen that, and I'm not shouting down anyone that's done it, and you've seen it. They got different challenges on different platforms: LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. They all do it. A video a day or whatever it is, 10 videos a day. You've seen it. 30 days, 30 videos. Or content. I'm big on that. I like to produce my own original content, but I do it when I feel it. That's it. When I feel it is when I do it. It's not hard to do. So I'm just curious, you guys' insight on that approach is if it's actually putting out content on a daily basis, so you actually get some sort of like muscle memory. And that could be anywhere. It could be on LinkedIn, it could be YouTube, it could be Instagram, or you are strategic, or it could be something purpose driven, like for an event. So Saber, what do you think about that? I know that we've had conversations about content, either original content, sharing content. So I'm curious to know your insight on that.
Well, so I'm with you. When I am like a sunshine of more rainbow than I already am, right? I can focus, I can really dive down and really bring my message across. When I'm like, yeah, I just have to throw content, I've got to do this. I definitely am very transparent on that. And so I think for some, it comes very natural to. I think others don't. So on certain things that I do as far as creating content, I do have to have a strategy, but it's kind of like just a kind of like a, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like not a ghost, but like just like a template. Mm-hmm. It's not in gold or anything like that. It's just kind of that. And then I kind of play around it with a strategy of, okay, what about this? What about that? So it's kind of just like a little bit of pieces what I need to do. And then I don't feel like it's forced, because I definitely have some friends that force everything, and, it works for them, but it doesn't work for me. If it shows a force, it looks like.
What do you mean by force? Force how? How does that look to you?
We all want to connect with somebody on some level. We all want to promote other people's businesses. We want to connect. We want to sell our product or everything like that. But when someone says, this is the two things that you need to do to be successful, if that doesn't come natural for you, you really need to, like for me, I have to educate myself because I struggle with several different things. And so I have to educate myself on how to be more genuine than forced. So when I do a video, and you've seen some of my videos, I look like I'm a scared human being. Mm-hmm. But now, because I have learned some traits or anything, it's not forced. It kind of comes a little easier. So when you force certain things like the content, because you know you have to do it in order to get X amount of sales or X amount of stuff, and people read people very easily. Some people don't. And when you're in a bad mood, oh, I'm working from my house. Nobody wants to see the crazy monster that comes out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. You definitely, and especially in sales, if you're having a bad day, nobody wants to see that. And I'm very transparent. And when I try to put a fake smile on, which is rare, but it happens, people can see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think then you're really not getting your true self out there, and people can go, oh, that's how that person is. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be in their circle, because everybody has a bad day. Everybody has different things going on. And I think people forget that.
Yeah.
And hopefully I didn't have too much background noise, because I just noticed something was on. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. No, everything's okay on my end. I appreciate that. I didn't hear it. Lynette, just curious to know what's your thoughts on either what Saber's shared or on the philosophy of massive approach. Like, and it could be, social media, or it could even be your 9 to 5 if there is one. But the question is either throwing everything on the wall to see what sticks, or being strategic on, it's almost like calculated. And so you could actually, doing so, you could actually really understand exactly how it's working, or know where to tweak, because you can know if you did it this way and you're getting this results, then doing the other way, and then see and tweak it. So just curious to know about that aspect there, Lynette. And I hope I didn't lose you there,
For
but
me,
yeah,
for me, I agree 100% with Sabra, because sometimes you have to be strategic.
yeah,
All the time, you have to be strategic.
mm-hmm,
Let's say,
yeah,
but you need to be authentic, because people read, and people are just great readers, and they know when you're trying to pretend something, when you want to push something, and when you're trying to sell something that eh, it doesn't resonate.
mm-hmm,
So I have many profiles for different things that I use and I do. And for example, I have my talk show that is Let's Talk with Lean, conversation, meaningful conversations, connecting through those conversations and inspiring and creating impact. So that platform is just only for conversations. It's just only interviews for whatever topic that I think that we can connect and the community can just feel connected with, and that's just exclusive with that. But in my personal one, it's just networking, events, and so on, and the things that people know me, that I just have many profiles in that regard. So depends of what you, dear listener or dear viewer, is just having a situation. Be meaningful how you post, and be meaningful what do you do,
mm-hmm,
because people, we are just a whole bunch of things, and we cannot just classify, oh, I'm only fashion blogger, or I'm only LinkedIn. Yes, you have to have one that is just be the not the top one that the people recognize you by, but you have to be the most authentic person, because when you're happy, people knows it.
mm-hmm.
But when you are struggling or something, people need to know also that you are real.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. I think about um, what you're saying. It resonates with me, and I think about this. Let me give you an example. Um, and Kay, you're more than welcome if you want to come on the stage and share your insight. You're more than welcome to. Uh, Curious to know. Not curious to know. I would say the other day I went to an area. What's this area called again? I was in Norcross, Georgia, and I was visiting a location that I found out that this industry or industrial real estate property was recently acquired. I don't know who is the client, so obviously the purpose of the visit is to find that out. Man, I just could not muster up the energy. I just was not in the best mood, but I knew I needed to get it done. So that's why I did that. So, man, when I got there, I ran into the same people that I ran into about 3 weeks ago. And when I saw one guy, he seemed like a guy that might know something. So I approached him and, I was like, hey, this is that. This is why I'm here. This is what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. And I kept pushing him, meaning even though whatever he was telling me, I wasn't taking that for an answer. I'm like, come on now, but yeah, we could do this. Or, oh, what about if we look at it this way? He was like, dude, I can't help you. You were here the other day. I remember you. And I think this was Monday. I'm still thinking about this because I knew that I did not show my best self. Now, after that, I went to another location and I needed some information about an Amazon client or location. Hey, Gabe, thank you very much for joining us. I see you in the audience. So if you want to come up and chat, please, by all means. Same results. The guy at the location for the Amazon site that's being constructed, no, buddy, you need to figure it out yourself. So, I had a whole bunch of that throughout the day, but I didn't stop. I just continued going. But the fact is the results weren't the best. So I agree with what you're saying that the key thing is actually continue. Just try to be authentic or being your true self is what's going to make the difference. So I would agree with you 110%. So now I want to give a shout out to my dude named David. This guy talking about commercial property and real estate and hospitality. He's right now chiming in right now via LinkedIn. So thank you very much for joining me. If you're not connected to him, please be sure to connect with him. He has a great podcast on YouTube. So thank you very much for coming through, David. Thanks for the support and love. And Sabra, She loves Norcross. What do you love Norcross? What is it about Norcross that you love, Sabra? Norcross, Georgia.
Well, first of all, I love everything about Georgia. So there is a little restaurant, and it's funny because I think you and I spoke about this restaurant. I do not know the name of it. I will have to Google it because it's been a long time, but there's a little restaurant in there that has the best chocolate chip cookies.
Yes, I remember you talking about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's why I love that.
No, I would agree with that. Chocolate chip I enjoy. I particularly like more cookies with spices like cinnamon raisin and things like that. So I like that, or even like gushy, like soft cookies. I enjoy those. So Gabe, I'm not sure if you've seen or hear much of it. I know that you share some comments via LinkedIn. So just to reset the room, what we have been talking about is the 5 traits of highly successful individuals. Mind you, the perspective of the podcast that I'm sharing and that's stimulating the conversation is coming from a professional, personal coach and sales coach that he's giving his insight with a sales agenda, a sales approach. However, the behaviors are still could be applied in any specific industry. Now, given that said, I'm curious to know what are the behaviors that you exhibit that people come to you, Gabe, and say, man, I don't know how you do that. And that's why you're successful. I'm curious to know what that is, or what are those, if it's more than one, that you like to share.
Wow, I figured I came in at the right time because I was hearing talk about cookies. So that is always like number one. It was like, whoa, the cookie talk is going on, but that's okay. Well, traits.
Yeah.
Well, one of them for me has been just being very persistent and being consistent. Having those two things has been traits for me that have worked wonders, right? I mean, so in what I do and what I try to do more often is in doing my live streams is, maybe I've had an individual or a guest or somebody who they were unable to come on. I've asked them to come on, but yet they're like, well, maybe at a later date, or maybe at another time. It's just not right, not the right time right now. So for me, it's always been, I never let that fall to the wayside. I always keep it, in the back of my mind, as far as I'm gonna reach out to this person again and again and again until I find that right moment where it's just like, let's do this. Someone who's been that persistent in wanting to have a conversation with me and has shown the ability and the tenacity to keep asking. Of course, I would love to have a conversation with you. And then the same thing, like I said, just being consistent. I mean, gosh, showing up every single day has always been one of the things that I've found in life has worked so many wonders for me, because I know what the alternative is if I don't. If I don't take the time to go in and put in the work and do the things that I need to do, those have been so helpful for me in getting to the point where, I've sort of built a semi following and kind of successful at what I do. It's just being able to do that. And then, of course, just being open to learning, man. That's another thing. I mean, I've learned so many different things from so many different people, so many stories, so many individual tales. For me, that has been one of the other key elements in what has kind of helped me find myself and find what makes, in my eyes, successful for me, is being able to say, I can work this. Let me ask this person if I don't have the answers. And even if they don't have the answers, that they can point me into somebody that might be able to. I mean, that's kind of what has been key for me. Is relying on those traits for me has been what has gotten me to this point in my life where I feel comfortable with who I am. And it's something that I kind of know that as long as I can go back to these things, these sort of traits that that I've kind of learned from my own journey. Man, I have always found a way to make myself enjoy my level of what I call successful for me. I mean, I don't let other people define what successful is for me, and I mean, if it's money's your thing, money's your thing. Where I find success and value is in people and relationships. I think there's a lot more value to that, and that's just for me personally. So that's been for me, like I said, what I love, man. That defines me down pretty much to my core, brother. You know,
Yeah, I do.
and that's how we connected.
Yeah, and that's the key thing is that thank you very much, Gabe. I think the key thing is, and you always heard it, making those deposits in those relationships, and essentially is what very similar to what I shared earlier, and echoed what David Dinkins was talking about was visiting or calling a friendly face or calling a friendly voice. That's essentially you're making a deposit because you're doing it because you want to. Your agenda is to try to get yourself in a good mood, but however, who knows what comes out of that conversation? And given that you don't have an agenda, the individual could feel it in your voice. So making those often without an agenda, just because, has benefited me immensely, financially, personally, professionally. It just is amazing when you do that, and it feels good. It feels good in your belly. So no question about that. So thank you very much for sharing that. Kirsten,
One more thing. One more thing. Since we're talking about belly full,
yeah,
I am with you.
Some cookies?
I am with you, Sabra, on chocolate chip cookies. They are the absolute best. I mean, especially when you find a good one. So if I ever go to where is it? Norcross,
Georgia. Norcross.
I need to find this place.
Okay.
I love a nice cookie, man.
We can't go to the next trait without getting people's cookie recommendations. So right now in LinkedIn Live, YouTube, and Facebook, let us know what is your favorite cookie. It could be chocolate chip, and if you have the link, great. If you don't, let us know who makes it. Sabra, what is the name of the place, and what is it about the cookie that you like?
So I am going to have to Google that place because I have the receipt and I probably do have a souvenir from that cookie shop. But yeah, one of my biggest weakness, and that's probably why I'm so sweet, is because I literally live on sugar. I had pralines and cream for dinner last night. This morning I had a voodoo donut, and then for lunch I had a Snickers bar. So that's kind of my diet. So any type of cookies is... In Colorado, I have a girlfriend that makes these amazing sugar cookies, but crumble is right up there. Anything anybody wants to know about good desserts or sweets, I'm the go-to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So right now,
that sounds like a podcast in itself. Right, I
know. You and I. Hey, if anybody could do it, is you and I, Gabe. So Carolyn in Facebook, on LinkedIn says that her thing is sugar cookies. David Dinkins is putting a chime in for oatmeal raisin. I'm with you as well. I like oatmeal raisin with nuts as well. And my dude Nick, he's chiming in all the way from overseas. He's saying something Dutch stoop waffle. Stroop. There you go. Stroop. Dutch stroopwafel. And let me know if I'm close, if I butchered it. And then Yolanda says oatmeal raisin with chocolate chips. Oh Lordy, I think Yolanda's trying to cater to the masses with that one. Now, Gabe, what's your favorite cookie and who makes it?
So there's a place where I grew up, called, of all things, it's called the Lovin' Oven. Lovin is what it is. Oh my God, that is like the worst place to be if you're like you have a sugar addiction like Sabra, because you walk in there and they have everything: cakes, cookies, cupcakes. Oh gosh, you name it, they make it, and it's like it smells like heaven. So, well, if I imagine what heaven smelled like, that's probably what it smells like. It's walking in there. But man, that they make these cookies. Like I'm thinking about driving back home to go get one. That's just thinking about it, salivating a little bit. So yeah, that's, and maybe it's just something with the nostalgia of growing up as a kid and going there that kind of still sticks in the mind. But gosh, yeah, you go there and I'm guaranteed to walk out of there with at least like 40 or 50 bucks worth of stuff. I probably won't eat all of it, but I'll walk out of it there with there and go like, here, man, this is just like, I need this, I need that. Give me 2 of those, 3. Just one of those places, man. That's, for me, that's what I live for. That's my weakness. Is like Saber says, sugar.
Yeah,
anything else?
I'm with you with it comes out to the sugar. I think about because one of my parents is Latino, so I think about like pastries, like flaky pastries with guava paste in it. Sometimes with cheese, but just mostly creamy or smooth guava paste. And I just think about like when I was younger, and something is called turrón. Turrón. I'm sure.
Oh my God!
What you know about
You're
turrón?
making me. Oh, you're watering. It's water mouth now.
There you go. You see?
And then with the turrón, you make a bunch of different things because you mix it in the at the blender with Baileys, and then it becomes a different thing. Or you can do either a bizcocho or Dominican bizcocho.
Yeah.
Or you can do flan or whatever other things. Turrón is for forever. You just smash it and then it becomes many different things. And the guava and for our audience that speaks Spanish, queso de hoja is like a cheese that goes by layers. It's to die for.
Yeah, talking about cake, I love tres leches, and there's so many different versions.
Oh, that's another one. Oh my God,
Yeah.
it's a go-to.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, see what I tell you, huh? Kay, Kay.
How did we get on desserts?
I know what happened. I even put it in a banner. Kay, if you want to share your favorite cookie or your dessert, by all means, you can join us on the stage. So let me go back to I think we have like 2 traits left, and then we'll wrap up what we. Oh, hold on a second. We got to stop the presses. Kay is in the house, and she's gonna share what her favorite cookie or pastry is. Hey, Kay, welcome to the stage.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I'm in a meeting right now. I can't talk, but I will share that I do like the leche. It's very good.
Yeah.
And I got my children to like it too.
Yeah, that's good. And mind you, there's so many different versions of tres leches. Like I've seen some with toasted almonds. Toasted coconuts, and there's so many different versions. Even some I've seen some with like fruit cocktail ish, like the stuff that you see in fruit cocktail on top. So it's so many different versions I've seen.
No, that's dulce frío. Make a disclaimer. That's a dulce frío, which is made differently than tres leches.
Okay. Oh, interesting. I'm glad you said that. Okay. Yolanda says that flan de leche is the best. She likes that. She loves that. I love flan. I mean, whenever I go to a Spanish restaurant, and Miami is a Spanish restaurant, I'm talking about like a hole in the wall. I always ask for flan. That's always been one of my favorite. Saber is chiming in. She says that sugar toppings are always mentioned when I'm present. Strawberry shortcakes is one of my favorite nicknames. Oh, man. Sabra, before we continue, what's the backstory behind that?
So when I was little, I used to collect Strawberry Shortcake, the doll, and I did everything Strawberry Shortcake. And then when it did its reboot, my mom actually saved my 1983 Strawberry Shortcake ring and gave that to me for one of my milestone birthdays in a reboot. So all my friends call me Strawberry Shortcake. And again, that's kind of why my little tagline is throw kindness around like confetti. And always, I live in a unicorn and gummy bear world. So that's kind of why my nickname is Strawberry Shortcake.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I thank you very much for sharing that. That was I can't think of anything that I have a nickname to that refers to pastry. So let me bring up the other two topics, and then we'll conclude it, and we'll get everyone's thoughts. So thank you very much for hanging in there, everyone.
Number 3, the traditional trainer teaches people, and the traditional salesperson teaches people, always be closing. ABC. I say never be closing. Never close. Now, I don't mean don't get a decision. I just mean that this whole closing thing, it feels like it's seen.
Now, okay, think about this. If you're not in sales, hear it through and think about his advice, how it could be implemented in your role. Even though you're not in sales or you don't have a sales quota, just after you listen to what he says, think about how you could apply it in your role.
Best day. It just feels like a better way to do it for me. And if you're in this program or working with me in any way, here's what I would teach you. I would say, get really good at understanding the problem the customer brings to you. Could be the problem that they are seeking to solve. Could be a problem they don't know they have, but you've helped them see that they've got other problems. It could be a problem that they want to avoid in the future. It could be some kind of a dream they have or a goal that you can help them get to. But be clear about what is the thing that's driving them to change. Then get really good at communicating your solution. And at the end of that, tell them or ask them if they would like to proceed with you or not. Now you might say, well, that sounds kind of weak and wimpy. Well, remember, I said you've got to get good at finding the problem. You've got to get really good at communicating your offer, what I would call your offer or your value, what it looks like to work with you. And that way you're never closing. You're not trying to get them to do anything. You're just saying, look, here's my offer. Here's what I can do. What do you think? Yay, nay, go, no go. That's the ideal.
You see, that's an interesting approach. And when he said that, it resonates with me. And this is why. When I interact with customers, I don't care if the deal is an average deal. An average deal is relative to whomever is listening or watching. I don't care if it's a medium-sized deal. I don't care if we're talking about a huge logo. The approach is still the same. Because at the end of the day, I want to be a partner with you. I want to help. And I have something to offer. And there's a need that we already know that is in place. And this is why we're even entertaining a conversation. Now, and I say that to say, because then I'll say something somewhere along the lines, even before price is presented, I'll say something to the effect like, regardless how things pan out, and mind you, I honestly believe what I'm about to say, we can still be friends. So at the end of the day, no matter how things pan out, we can still be friends. That's how I feel. Because what happens is sometimes it could be a lot of things that could play in. It could be personalities. You may not get along with the person. So even no matter what you're going to give them or whatever it is, and this could be at work and you may not be a salesperson and that could be your boss. And if you don't get along, you're going to be miserable. So you have to try to find a way to still be friends. And then it could be numbers. My price might be too high. So that might be a hindrance. So it is what it is. As long as I provided value and he understood or she understood why it makes sense for us to do business. However, they just can't justify the cost. at least those core principles are still there. So if we have an opportunity to do business in the future, we could go back to those core principles and revisit it and see now if this time is right. So that's the key thing. So going back to what Bill said is understanding the customer's problem or hurdle, then that allows you to really diagnose how we can work together. And that's the key thing that applies to anything. If you're a customer service, you're an attorney, I mean, anything, you're literally anything, understanding what's the scenario in place and getting a good grasp of it allows you to communicate an appropriate solution or a collaboration that we all could agree upon. So given that trait that we just heard, and I go from top to left. So I got the on the top, Sabra. Curious to know, what are your thoughts on what Bill Caskey or even what I've shared?
So I love that. So one of my favorite authors, and I just came across him just recently, is Keenan and the gap selling.
Yes, I love that dude.
He's from Colorado, so of course, there's that connection. 6 degrees, he lives down the street. But the one thing that he always says is, I have always said I'm a problem solver, even if everybody has a problem of some sort, whether it is, what I'm selling them or what I'm telling them. If they have a different problem, I can connect them with someone else. So a lot of people come to me, not for my products, but for other resources. Mm-hmm. And then that in turns, they connect me with other people that actually can buy my product. So there's a couple of things that you can identify with, but yeah, I really like the, ABC. I'm not old school, and I know that works for a lot of people, but I like to know where the problem is, what I can do to fix it. And if I can't, then they're not my customer, but they're still going to be a relationship because they need something else that maybe I know I connect them with someone else. Mm-hmm. So that's my little tidbit.
No, I love that. Who would like to go next?
I support everything what Sarah says, because that's key in networking. You need to pursue to get a relationship in the long term with that person, because you don't know how the world's going to spin, and then what person is going to, either you're going to help to the next stage, or that person is going to have a good relationship with you, that friendship is going to go and expand to other things. And sometimes we've seen in real life that we just go from one job to another job. We change different patterns, that maybe right now we can be in IT, but later on you can be in another field. And then that relationship built in the past can help you to move forward, because someone knows that person in that company, and then they can refer you from it.
It's fun. Thank you very much for sharing that, Lynette. I want to add on to what you just said. Think about, and I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this live, either in the Clubhouse room, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, could relate to this. And I'll say this. Let me say this before I share this. If you're watching us live, please let us know if you're watching us live. Put hashtag team live. If you're watching us in a replay, please put hashtag team replay. And we're down to our last trait. We're discussing 5 traits of successful individuals, high achiever traits. So that's what we're talking about right now. And we're having a quite insightful conversation. But if you're just tuning us live, you miss it was a nail biter. We were debating about cookies. Yes. So you missed out on that one. You got to watch the replay. So now this is what I was thinking about now. This, the key thing is what Lynette said. Yeah, you might go from job to job. However, the baggage is still the same. Now, if your aspect or your mindset is the same, meaning that, okay, it could be anything. Let's say, for instance, if you show up and you're not willing to give yourself or be vulnerable. This is the word I like to use because a lot of people, sometimes I don't see that often enough in a scenario that is adequate, meaning that if someone's coming to you for help or you just joined a job, the person is either not amenable, or this is the classic phrase, this is not how we used to do it at ABC Company. Well, guess what? You're not at ABC Company, and this is how we do it here at XYZ. Do you still want a job at XYZ? So I love when people say that. Oh, I never seen that way to do it. Well, I'm glad you had the opportunity. Did you get it? Because you're going to be doing it more often now, the way I just showed you. What about that? So, and mind you, you only get that attitude when you're dealing with someone that I feel that are not amenable. They're not allowing themselves to be vulnerable. They're not coachable. And mind you, and I only say that not after an initial conversation. We're talking about weeks, months, and you're seeing the attitude. You're seeing that it's like, okay, you already know. I've seen that person before. I already know where they're gonna go. 6 months later, they're gonna be with another company. So, given what I just said, I'm curious to know, Lene, if you wanted to add on to that.
For me, it's just building relationships all the way I'm going, because companies comes and go, but people, they can come and go, because we are just in continuous change. But just building great relationships of helping others, and just build that relationship that can just be your partner in other places. Doesn't have to be in the company wise, but just to share hobbies, golf, basketball, or book club, many. It's be creative with that. That you can establish not only a relationship that, we need to just be in finances because we're part of this job. No, get outside of the job and just establish a good relationship that it can long last in the future. For example, in my case, one of my relationships found the person who I right next now married with, my love. So, and it was something that we didn't expect it. And that's it.
That is fantastic. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, Jason, thank you very much for popping in. And I see you in the audience. We also are live streaming this right now on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn Live. And we're down to our last trait, Jason. And what we're talking about today is 5 unique high achiever traits. So we're down to the last one. So if you'd like to come to the stage, let me know, and you can share some insights on that, and then we'll wrap up the discussion. But thank you very much for joining us, Jason. I appreciate that. All right, Jason is going to come to the stage, and Jason is actually one of the co-founders of Sticky Beaks. If you are on Clubhouse, please be sure to join the Sticky Beaks Club. Every single day they have different events. They have impersonators. They have comedians. They got music. They even have a specific hour of the day that you can even ask an Aussie anything. So definitely recommend you to, if you're on Clubhouse, to look them up and connect with them on Clubhouse. Sticky Beak. Jason, I'd like to give you the stage to introduce yourself. Go right ahead, please.
Hey, Marcello. I'm Jason Van Stralen from Perth, Australia. I'm a real estate agent, and I got onto Clubhouse about a month ago after getting a membership, going, what the heck is this? I don't know. I'm trying to understand it. I'll come back to this later. And then a couple of weeks later, I got back on and I met Brian, who and was also confused and trying to work it all out. And we just started nutting it out together and learning the features. And then we thought, this is a lot of fun. And we co-created the Sticky Beat Club. And that is like a variety club for all people from all walks of life, with all sorts of different interests and tastes, who want to network with like-minded people. And the like-minded people are from every industry and every part of the globe, which is what is just so amazing about Clubhouse. And so what we did was we started Sticky Beak because that is an Australian term for an overly inquisitive person. So if you've got a neighbor that kind of like comes to your yard sale and wants to poke around and look through your house and be a bit nosy and know things about you that's none of their business, that's a Sticky Beak. So we thought, well, we started these rooms where you could network and learn things about other people and nosy their bios, and that's how we came up with the idea, well, that's Sticky Beaking. And then we are now here with I don't know, it's been 6 weeks now. We've got lots of new friends all over the globe. We've got regular people that help us with our rooms and have interesting things. And what we find is that every single person has something interesting and fascinating that they could run a room on, and they don't realize it half the time, or even more than that. So we're encouraging people to run rooms off Sticky Beat using the member base to get more followers for themselves and grow the Sticky Beat club. And it's working. The club's just growing. And that's me, and that's my story, and I'm complete for now.
Thank you. Thank
Well,
you.
oi, 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 oi to that.
And Aussie.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. We got some veterans. They already know the moniker. I appreciate that. Jason, thank you very much for sharing that with us. And if you haven't done already, be sure to pull to refresh and ping some folks that are not in any other Sticky Beak room to join us here. So I appreciate that. In the meantime, now, one thing I wanted to ask you, Jason, which I ask everyone as well, is if you could share a trait that, or even two, that people compliment you on, or they say, man, I don't know how you could do it, but you have noticed and attribute your success to these traits. So either a trait or a couple of traits. I'm curious to know if something comes to mind, Jason. Go right ahead.
All right. Okay. I feel like I've walked in the room and I'm taking over, so I don't.
No,
But
you're
okay,
fine.
I've got one. I'll give you one because those words were spoken to me once a long time ago. So I was 24 and I'm 50 now, and I worked at a hi-fi shop, a consumer electronics similar to a Best Buy or a Circuit City, which I know are gone now. But I had I loved, and I still do love, audio equipment, and I worked for a company that sold audio equipment, and they made some critical errors. They were quite a big chain. They had 150 stores in Australia or something like that. And I became a manager of one at a very young age. I was one of the youngest managers, and I loved my job. I loved selling hi-fi and stereo and TV and video cameras, and it was basically boys' toys. So I was absolutely just loving it. And I did sales training, and I did all sorts of things to make myself better at selling. And I was one of it was in the top 5% of all the salesmen in Australia. They used to have a competition, a weekly competition, and who sold the most would obviously win prizes, as well as you'd get commission anyway. So the incentive was to get commission. And of course, who doesn't like money when you're young? So there you go. That's how I started. And then what happened was the company itself made some really strategic errors, and I won't go into that, but they set themselves into a bit of a spiral, and I was really upset because they actually said, I made millions of dollars a year for them in profit, and obviously I only got a percentage of that, which was a lot at the time. And I thought, I was earning about what's the equivalent today of earning about 150,000 a year back then, and that was a big deal for someone as young as me in my very, very early 20s. All my friends were earning like a third of what I was earning, so it was pretty cool. But that was sales skills, and so I started my own store. And we used to have this thing called interest-free terms, which is basically like your afterpay now, or these pay later sort of things, solutions. And because I'd established a relationship with the guy that was a state manager of a company, he actually came down and visited me in my new store, which was like quite a big deal. And anyway, I was sitting there at my desk in my new store with basically about a tenth of the normal amount of stock that you'd expect to have, but I was just starting and I only had so much money to spend on stock. But it was fine. People were coming to the store and buying stuff, and I was building up the inventory. And this was just the first couple of weeks. And he came down and he said to me, "How do you sleep at night?" I said, "What? How do you sleep at night? I don't understand. What do you mean, Peter? Jason," he said, "I couldn't do this. I don't know how you can actually start up a business and hope that it's all going to succeed. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. You've put everything you've got into this shop. What are you doing? I don't know how you can do it." And I looked at him and I thought about it. I said, "Peter, I don't know how I could not do it." So there you go.
Yeah, yeah. And when you say that, if you choose to watch the replay on LinkedIn, I was tapping my head when you said, "I don't know how I can't choose not to do it." And when you say that to me, all I hear is mindset. Obviously, you're already committed to it. At this point, even though you see the hurdles, you see the wall right ahead of you, and the wall is telling you you're gonna fail. You're saying, "How can I get around that wall?" That's basically what I'm saying. That's that obstacle. So that's the key thing. That's a great trait to have. And unfortunately, you see that quite often. You see people that don't have that, or they don't have a good support system. Because sometimes, hey, myself included, I might even doubt myself. And I won't go into start saying that I got imposter syndrome, because we could spend hours talking about that, because I believe it's such a farce. Personally, I'm not going to go into it now, but I think that imposter syndrome is such a farce, because and I'll just let me just say exactly what I mean by that is that, because I know I'm going to get a whole bunch of stuff. The fact is, I feel that you know what you're good at, you know what you're not good at, you know who you admire, you know who you want to follow, and you know who you want to emulate. Reach out to those individuals, follow them, see what they're doing that is successful to them. Don't try to match where they're at to your beginning. They've probably been doing this for 20 years, 5 years, 10 years, and you're just starting. So don't start thinking, oh, I'm never going to amount to that. No. Try to do what you could do with what you have, and then create a plan and execute it. So this is why I say imposter syndrome is such a farce, because you could actually be successful and avoid this woe is me mentality. So I'm curious now, given we said quite a bit, I want to give the floor to anyone that'd like to add on what we just heard before we listen to the last trait. So Lynette, Kay, and Sabra, curious if you'd like to share.
So the one thing I like about that is now I'm a walker because I'm old, but I used to run. And, when you line up at the beginning, not everybody starts at the same time. So I always compare, and I really don't compare, but I use this analogy as that, you all start somewhere. It may not be in the beginning, it may be in the middle, it may be the last runner, but when you all finish at different times as well. And so I always try not to ever say, oh, I admire a lot of people, I'm inspired by so many people, because what I'm doing in my career, there may be someone that is just starting out. So my start point may be someone's page 962 start point, or they could have been, different things. So I always try to pick up different little things from people where I can be a better human. I can be a better mother. I can be a better whatever. And my page isn't the same as someone else's page.
Good point. Good point. Does anyone else would like to chime in?
We are all connected. Keep that in mind.
What do you mean by that?
That what I might be struggling or achieving, I can be example or a testimonial for someone that I can do it and just feel empowered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we lost her because she had bad connection. So I get her point, when it comes down to that. So before I share some of the comments. Oh, Lynette, thank you very much for coming back. Did you want to finish your thought?
This app is just nice.
Yeah.
I just have to say that. Oh, yeah, that maybe in the whole world we are just facing things that it can be a reflection of how I can do better looking at someone that is just achieving that, or how can I overcome the struggles, or that's what I'm saying. We're all connected.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. Kay, did you have some insight? Did you have? I know you're in a meeting, or you're with some other folks. Houston, if you'd like to share. Okay. Now, let me go into the comments in the meantime. Right now, I got quite a bit of comments on Facebook and also LinkedIn. So I want to share this. I know we already talked about some cookies, and I'm curious to know, Jason, if you know anything about this cookie. My dude Rick, he's shared a specific pastry. He calls it that he loves. He says it's called Dutch Stroop waffle. Stroop. There you go. Stroop waffle. Does that ring a bell?
Stroopwafel.
Yes. Do you remember? Do you? Are you
Oh
familiar?
yes. Oh yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
he said, yeah, you when you came in early, we were talking about cookies. We diverted and we started talking about what our favorite cookies was. So yeah, so he shared that was his favorite. No, so now this is one of the comments that we had. Hey Jennifer, thank you very much for joining us right now. Your timing is perfect because we actually are wrapping up. We're actually gonna cover one last trade, and what we've been talking about today is the 5 unique high achiever traits. So we shared 4 so far, and then in between we discussed that specific trait that we listened to from a podcaster, a professional coach, a sales coach, and then we decided to talk about what our favorite cookie is. So if you're on LinkedIn, you're more than welcome to watch the replay because I'm recording this. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can watch it there as well. Okay, so now, and then you're more than welcome to join the stage if you'd like to share your insight as well. So now here we go. So now this is where we're at right now. Let me see where we're at. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so Nick said when we were talking about earlier about having some level of detachment, he was talking about when you're dealing with customers, you have to understand closing is the final spot. And that's the key thing. You have to understand that approach. Another thing that Nick said, that giving ongoing support and answering their questions and solutions is a key thing. Carolyn said also on LinkedIn that she absolutely agreed the approach about having some level of detachment when you're dealing with customers, because you really can't be that vetted with the deal, because somehow or another, if it collapses, then your relationship might go with that as well. Another thing that Carolyn shared was meeting others with passion in your eyes, not a dollar sign. And that's the key thing. I've talked about this many times on LinkedIn, is making sure that when you're coming with an approach, you're, and this is the line that I said earlier, and Jennifer and Jason, I shared this earlier, when I'm interacting with clients on a daily basis, and even before we even talk about money, and this I truly believe this, I always say, regardless of how this works out or whatever we decide to go, if we decide to part ways, is fine. Guess what? We can still be friends, right? So I'm adamant about that, because things don't work out always. It could be numbers. The dollars may not match up. He might like, or she might like me personally. She or he might believe that my company can provide the service that he or she needs for their client or customer. However, there's a specific budget that they need to stick at or stay at, and I can't meet them there. Or guess what? He may not like my cologne. He may not like my accent. Whatever it might be, but we can still be friends. So if you approach it that way, you can still have an opportunity to circle back or just stay present with them, and you never know where that your paths might cross. So I'm very adamant about that. Another thing that David Dickens said, he said, always try to leave the door open. So that's the approach you want to go into when you're negotiating. Essentially, you want to go in there that regardless how it ends up, you still have an opportunity to go back in or ask, hey, David, I'm curious to know, I know that we didn't get the deal closed. Curious to know what was the reason why. Hopefully you would already know that, but you can still go back and ask that question. Nick said, as well as a client, you need to feel much better to be in a position of service. And I see what else we have here. Another one. I see my lady, Michelle, is in the house. Thank you very much for coming through and saying, hey, Chello. I see that in LinkedIn. And also then David says, absolute ability to listen deeply and having a positive outlook. Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that. That's the sad thing. And that's why when you do see that, that's it's miraculous. And 2 more comments and then we'll wrap up. Carolyn says, visionaries are the future. And Sabra, which is she's on stage as well, she says, don't compare your page 1 to someone else's page 985. And that goes back to what I was talking about, that imposter syndrome. When I see that topic, often it makes me cringe because I'm thinking about, You guys already know my point of view on that. So let's get the last trait.
Number 4, it seems like the traditional seller always has an intention to sell something. They always have in their mind that they're going to pitch or convince or sell or get someone to do something. I used to get this a lot until people stopped asking me because I would abuse them when they asked me, how do you get somebody to buy? How do you get somebody to make a decision? How do you get somebody to call you back? How do you get somebody to get? No, you can't get somebody to do that. You can influence that as best you can. You can take the right actions. You can have the right mindset and maybe the right language. But at some point, your intention has to be to solve something, not to sell something. When someone comes to me and either is interested in one of our programs or is a corporate account, and maybe it's a VP of sales, and they want me to come in and help them with their team for 60, 90 days, I'm always interested in helping them solve the problem. If part of that means that I don't work with them and they maybe don't need training or coaching, maybe they need something totally different. Maybe they need organizational help, or maybe they need digital marketing help, which we do a little bit of, but we don't do brand work and things like that. Maybe they need something very different. But my intention is always to solve something. The bigger it is, the better. I'm not trying to create a bigger problem than what is real. I'm trying to understand the problem as it exists and how big it is. So the old way, intention to sell something. The new way, intention to solve something. Here's number 5. The traditional old style salesperson, and by the way, I know some of you probably buy into this, and I hope I'm not insinuating that you're needing fixing or you're broken. But this has come over years and years of having sales trainers show up in our lives through books and through other things. And we have kind of defaulted into this, and that is a persuasion orientation, is the orientation that we have to persuade somebody. I think a better way to do that is an orientation of curiosity. I want to be curious about what the customer wants, what they're struggling with, what their circumstances are, what they're trying to do with their life. And I'm calling on VPs of sales, CEO, individual sales performers, achievers. I want to know, what's your vision? What do you think is possible in your world after, the next 2 or 3, 4, 5 years? So I'm very curious. Now, sometimes I even miss that. Sometimes I launch into the offer too early. And that's one of my many character flaws, defects. But I think it's a lot better if you lose the persuasion orientation and adopt a curiosity orientation. You're a whole lot more fun to be around. You don't always feel like you're pitching and presenting, and if people run when they see you coming at you, probably you're too persuasive. You're trying too hard. That would be funny. So curiosity is kills the cat. No, curiosity is a much better orientation. So quick review.
So that wraps up, and that's, I think the last one is the most key. And sadly, it's not done often enough. And what I mean by that is, and I see this often, even in my daily life, interacting with other sales professionals in various industries, they're not curious. And when a curious means that you're coming from a good place, you really want to help, you want to learn, you want to understand, and you want to make sure that it's a good fit. Think about this when it pertains to interviews, right? Even though you're going to interview with a hiring person, and I bring that up because I know I got David Dinkins in LinkedIn watching this live, and he'll chime in on his insight on this. Unfortunately, a lot of applicants go into it thinking that they have to persuade, convince to hire them. But the fact is, an interview is an opportunity for you to determine if it's a good fit for you to work for them. So it should be a two-way street, a two-way conversation. So guess what? Like, obviously, I'm in sales, so my aspect is very similar. And when I meet a perfect stranger every single time, it's not my job to convince them to choose me. Is an opportunity for us to determine if we are a good fit. So if you take that approach, no matter how it ends up, you you still have an opportunity to still be friends. So that's why I'm just curious to know folks' insight. So let me start with Saber. What do you think about what you just heard? And I'm curious to know what's your insight on those two traits.
So supersize me comes to mind, right? Supersize it, supersize it. So I love that little tidbit because, it is an opportunity. I do believe that some people do want to be influenced, but I think if you just have a conversation of, look, what is your need? If I can help solve your need or solve a problem that you have, great. But, there's other things, not just my product, that I can help solve. So, it definitely is getting to know someone, getting to the more insight about the whole spectrum and not just, okay, I have a goal to meet on my work. So I am forced to ask you these 10 questions. People don't people don't like to be sold. People like to have relationships. They want you to help them. And some people don't want help, but some people just need some guidance. Maybe that would be the better word, is some guidance, or just give them opportunity to whether they like what you have to offer or they don't. So I love the word opportunity. And, there are some strategies that can tie into this where you aren't coming across as a salesperson, but just get to know them and what makes them tick. Because again, people do change, like Lynette said earlier, people do change jobs from jobs to job. And you never know where that opportunity is going to be. So if you just, again, I throw up on the whole stage because I never know what maybe I can help or benefit someone. So that's my little tidbit for that. And I'm Saber and I'm complete. Is that what we're saying these days?
Yeah, I know that. I know folks do use that complete moniker, and it's quite common. And I could definitely appreciate that. No, thank you, Saber. I appreciate that. That was quite insightful. Lynette, what are your thoughts on what you just heard? Oh, I know that she's driving, so her connection was a little bit shoddy. We'll come back to you, Lynette. Jason, curious to know. I know, given that you are a salesman at heart, just curious. And mind you, you're talking. Saber is also a salesperson as well, so I'm curious to know what you. The last two traits you heard, and also your insight on those.
You mean, like, for instance, that she mentioned people like to buy and not be sold?
Yeah, I'm just curious to know. And you could either, if you have insight on that, great. If not, you could give your insight on the last trait was about making sure that you're curious, coming from a curiosity aspect. So I'm curious to know. I'm curious to know what's your thoughts on that trait.
Okay, so I'm not sure if I missed something, but I think that the curiosity is possibly the qualifying when you're talking to somebody that might like to buy something or that you want to sell something to, and having empathy and listening to them and understanding what their needs and wants are or desires, so that way you can fit the right outcome to their expectation, and that way they feel comfortable and can move ahead with the sale if you're in sales, because selling is all about relationships. Saber's right, totally right. And if people don't like you or basically buy you first, they won't buy whatever it is that you're selling. And also people buy emotionally and then they justify it logically. So part of that emotion is feeling connected with you and liking you and then understanding that this is right for them because you've listened to them and therefore helped them understand that this is the right solution. And then you've got to deal with the logical mind right at the end a little bit and make them feel like they're getting a special deal just for them, that's unique, that's cheaper than anyone else would have got it for, or more right and more perfectly resonating with exactly what they need and want, that they couldn't get anywhere else because you're the only person, or you're the person that's listened to them and understood them the most and solved their innermost need more than anyone else. And you've not only done that, you've given it to them for the right price, whether that might be something that might be It might even be more of a charity thing than it is for somebody to just make money on. But essentially, people buy you, and then they'll buy your product if they like you. I guess does that
No,
cover
no.
what you're thinking?
Mind you, I'm not. No answer was a perfect answer. I just wanted to get your insight, which you just shared. So I thank you very much for that, Jason. And quite frankly, I'm honored and thankful that you were able to join us on the stage and share some insight and also share some background. Let me see if Lynette is with us. Can you hear us, Lynette? Okay. Now, what I'll do now is we're about to wrap up, so I want to give Saber an opportunity to share. And mind you, and I say this because this is being recorded. You could watch it on LinkedIn Live, Facebook, and also YouTube. Please let folks know how they can reach you and what are the services that you offer. Go right ahead, Saber.
So the one thing that I like about this, and, I wrote down a couple of notes. And the one thing that you said that kind of resonates with me is you said having an agenda versus a strategy. And, there are different things that you can look at. And with these 5 little traits that he gave us, the hacks and the texts, and this last of being curious, it really is about people connecting with people and trying to help others. And one of my big passions, if you read my bio, is I love giving and I love helping, whatever that is. And so I do believe in helping others achieve their success will also bring me success in my pocket and in my world. So I truly believe, and you can call it karma, you can call it tarot card reading if you would like, but I do believe in helping others, and that's what my background in is. So thank you so much for having me on stage. I really appreciate it. As always, throw kindness around like confetti.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And what company you represent? I'm not sure if you want to share that, and how can folks reach you?
So you can reach me on LinkedIn, which is kind of confusing because I am a business developer in a restoration company in Colorado. But my true passion is my gifter box, and I have a studio, and it's because I do believe life should be celebrated on all aspects, whether that means you combed your hair, brushed your teeth for the first time, opened a car door for someone. I think that life should be celebrated, and we should all celebrate each other. So you can reach me on Instagram, and it's called the Gifter Box, and I have gifting tips for those who are having a rough day. I believe in sharing kindness to everyone. So those are the ways you can reach out to me. And if you have if you have a small shop, I love to shop local. The sustainability, things like that. I have different ideas that I can help grow your business as a marketer as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabra. And I'll also say, Sabra is my co-host on my our weekly sustainability conversation here on Clubhouse, which is also simulcast on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook as well, which we had our weekly conversation today. And if you are connected with me on LinkedIn, follow me on YouTube, and connected on Facebook, you can see the conversation that we had there. It was an epic, insightful conversation. A lot of people, we had almost everyone that was on stage had a lot to share on their point of view of recycling, and they had a lot of questions, so it went well. So thank you very much, Saber, for being a great co-host, and look forward to always being on stage with you. I'll leave Lynette last. I'm not sure if her connection is any good yet. Jason, curious to know if you could share with us a little bit about you that you haven't shared thus far, and how can folks connect with you?
Oh, no, no. I really only use LinkedIn or the Clubhouse app itself. So you can find me on LinkedIn under Jason Van Stralen, and I'm happy to collaborate with people for a multitude of things. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm more than happy to connect with them.
Thank you. And he's quite humble. Jason, he's a real estate professional, and he owns his own agency in it's called Milestones Realty. That's in Perth, Australia, Perth, Western Australia. So definitely want to let you guys know that. And he also is a member of the Toastmaster in West Perth. So if you're up there, definitely be sure to connect with him. Not sure if you guys are doing much things in person, but either way, he's a great resource. So thank you very much, Jason, for being here. Lynette, let me know if you can hear me. Okay. All right. So it was what I will do now, let me see what we have comment wise before we wrap up. And we got David Dinkins saying he's what we were talking about earlier is on point. Julia, I was talking about orientation of curiosity. She loves that, just that approach. And also we have Miss Jules. Miss Jules chimed in. Thank you very much for joining us. Better late than never, and that's the best part. Thank you, Miss Jules, for showing up. I appreciate your love and support. She said that is true. An interview is a bilateral activity. It is important to be able to explore who is interviewing you also. And that's so important. A lot of people overlook that, and then they do a good job convincing the interviewer that they need to hire them. And then they later realize, oh my gosh, what did I do? And now, yeah, it's quite challenging. So yeah. And then David said the same thing. He agreed with Miss Jules. So fantastic conversation, everyone. I appreciate you guys joining me today on our weekly conversation with Cocktail with Chello. I'll let you guys know what we're going to be discussing shortly for next week. I can't thank you enough for joining us. Now, what I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be looking forward to the weekend. I can't thank the interactions and the conversation that we had today in this week's chat, because quite frankly, I haven't done the Cocktails with Chello for several weeks now, and I'm glad that we had a fantastic interaction. So you guys are fantastic. I can't thank you enough, and you guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you for your support, guys.
Take care, Marcello.
Take care. Thank you, sir.
Cheers, mate.
Good night, everyone.
Oi, oi, oi. Thank you.
All right, see you all soon.
All right, I'll be closing the room in 5, 2, 1. Bye, guys. All right, guys, right here on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. Thank you for your support. I can't thank you enough. I'm getting goosebumps. You can probably see it. It's not going to focus in time. But yeah, thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much for your love. You guys are outstanding. Jules, thank you. And if you have an opportunity, watch the replay. We started in the nitty-gritty about 40 minutes into the replay, so you could tune in there, and I'm sure you enjoy the dialogue. David, thank you very much for coming in through. I appreciate you stopping by and your support. Miss Chin, outstanding. I love it. Thank you, guys. And if you enjoyed the chat, please do me a huge favor and share it with your network so we could have a more, a bigger network every single week. So thank you very much for you guys' support. You guys take care.